Hello and welcome to The Witch Source. I'm Whitney
And I'm Courtney.
and we are The Witch Source. And we are talking to you today about brooms.
Brooms. So much fun. I love making brooms. Brooms are awesome. But yeah, so diving into brooms. So the broom, besoms, hexenbessen, stagheads, and tussocks. Those are all names for brooms. But no matter what you call it, the broom has become an iconic symbol of witches.
Yes, it
So, well, I
has.
mean, yes. So when you think about it, what would the Wicked Witch from The Wizard of Oz be without her broom? I mean, that's
It
just the iconic symbol.
would be a totally different movie.
It would. So have you ever thought, why are witches depicted as flying on brooms? You know,
Why, yes, yes, I have.
so with this podcast, we're hoping, we're going to take a further look at why it became the symbol of witches, how they're made, and some of their magical purposes.
All right, let's dive in.
So
So
what's first?
let's start with some history because, I'm all about being teachy like. Okay, so the earliest known recorded use that I could find of brooms dates back to 1336 BC. Egyptian priests swept their ritual areas with brooms and then sprinkled the ground with blessed water. So that's the first mention of brooms being used with magic and ritual. Uh, but I found some other stuff too. So,
Awesome.
pre-Columbian Mexico worshipped a witch-like earth goddess. I am not going to try to pronounce her name, but I will spell it in case anybody is interested in looking it up. It is Tlazelteotl. And hopefully from that, you now understand why I'm not attempting to pronounce that.
Yeah, I can't even form that out. I'm a visual person.
Yeah,
Moving on.
it's really difficult. But so they worshipped this witch-like earth goddess who was pictured naked on a broom, and she swept away disease and harm.
Oh,
Yeah, and then in China, they worshipped a broom goddess, whom they referred to as the goddess of fine weather. And she was invoked to bring clear weather in times of rain or rain in times of drought. She was referred to as she who was the girl who sweeps the weather clear. And she was believed to live on the Broom Star.
the broom star.
Yeah, the Broom Star. I'm not overly familiar with what the Broom Star is. I didn't dive that deep into it, but I thought that was very interesting that there is such a thing as a Broom Star in Chinese culture and beliefs. Then in ancient Rome, midwives would sweep the house after childbirth because they believed that the newborn child had entered from the realm of the dead. So they swept out the house to cut the ties between the living and the dead. And then the festivals to Athena included visits from the dead, kind of like Samhain. So it was like a sacred festival and time where the dead could visit and they were welcomed. But then when the festival was over, you swept your house to basically tell them it's time to go. They're no longer welcome.
I really find that interesting because I see a lot of ties there between, practices then sweeping out energies and, what we do today.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree. So let's talk about how the broom is used today in magic.
Oh, righty. So moving on to what we do today. So today, in today's culture, um, so I know when I'm using my broom, Um, I usually use it to sweep the house after saging, and it's sweeping symbolically, not actually sweeping the floor.
Right.
And it's to ensure that all the negativity has left. Um, but and they say that make sure that you sweep counterclockwise to undo and clear negativity.
Yes. So you would go counterclockwise if you wanted to sweep out the negative and clear the space. And like you were saying, you don't actually sweep the floor. You're not actually touching the floor with your broom. So, it's all again symbolic and using your intentions to clear the energy out. But you can also sweep in positive energy and good luck. And to do that, and I would probably start with clearing first, right? So you'd go counterclockwise and clear out all the negative. But then you could go clockwise to bring in and sweep in the positive and good luck. Um,
Right.
and magically, a lot of times we use the broom to clear the space in which you're going to be performing your ritual to make
Right.
sure that the space is clear for that. So that's the majority of the time, you know, when and how you're going to use your broom. I did find mention of some witches replacing their wand with a broom.
Oh, I
Um,
like that idea.
yeah, so
I
anything that you would use your wand for, you would actually use your broom for instead. So,
see. I could see me doing that. I've never been drawn to actually using a wand. So, but I do like my broom.
yeah, so it's an option. So, on that note, the broom is, I found a few things which I found interesting. The broom is associated with the air element, which kind of makes sense. Oh, but speaking of wands, you found a cool little tidbit about wands and brooms.
I did find so when it was actually during the burning times that they believed that witches kept their wands in the bristles of the brooms.
I thought that was pretty cool.
I thought that was neat because I mean, what better way to conceal? I mean, brooms are brooms have been used throughout all of history, cleaning the floors or cleaning the hearths. I mean, hearth was like the central place, in a home. That's where everyone gathered. So, brooms were critical to keep that clean. And, it's just an everyday, object that's in everyone's homes. So what better place, to hide something than pretty much in plain sight.
Exactly. Yeah. I could almost see like when you're making your broom, almost like adding in the center somehow, some way to like attach your wand, some kind of like wand holster hidden on the inside.
Okay, yeah. So
That would be pretty
I make
cool.
brooms. I do
Right.
make brooms. And I think that I mean, I don't, so because of how tight brooms are wound, I really don't think that you could make it something that you could pull in and out. I mean, you could probably devise a way.
But could you make something like a piece of leather that could get wound in, like a thin piece of leather that just kind of hangs down in the center? Obviously, it's shorter than the bristles, so you don't see it, right? But then the bottom part had like some kind of snaps or something where you could snap your wand in.
Totally, totally. I could totally see that because essentially the center of your broom is hollow from the stick down to where it's tied. So you do have that space right there, or you could almost put like a tube in there it would fit the size of your wand that you could, slide it in. I'm totally envisioning this. Okay, it's a thing. It's a
I
thing.
know. No, I totally envisioned this like piece of leather hanging down with the snaps that you could like snap it in and secure it. So that's kind of where I was going when I first mentioned it because that's what I saw. So I totally think we could come up with something.
Okay, patent pending.
Yes, patent pending. I think we're totally going to make that a thing, especially since you make brooms. We could start doing custom broom orders and have the wand holster hidden in the center as an option.
I totally love that. Seeing it, yeah, this will happen.
I mean, I would totally use it just because I think it's a great and really super cool idea. So, in my office and magical space, I could totally see me hanging my broom up and yeah, putting my wand in there for storage. I really like it.
I love it.
It's fun. Okay, so back to the broom is associated with the air element, and I can see that for several different reasons. I mean, you've got, the wood piece. And when you are using your broom, you're sweeping the air and the
Right.
energies. So it makes sense. Also, it's associated with flying, which we'll come back to in just a moment.
We'll
Um,
get there.
it's also, I found, associated with the water element because it's considered a purifier, because you're purifying the
Oh,
space.
maybe that's why I've been drawn to brooms.
Right, because you're a Pisces and a water
I,
sign.
yes.
That makes
Yes.
sense. That totally makes sense. But yeah, so it's also associated with the water element. And then I also found mention of it being associated with the fire element, but I could not find a why. So there's that.
Hmm.
If you're interested and you
Let
want to
me
figure out if you want to personally associate your broom with the fire element and you want to make a connection, maybe you
I
can
could
go look it
see
up.
it because it's made from wood. And most brooms nowadays are made from broom corn,
Mm,
which is flammable. So, you
true.
know, being flammable, fire
Well, and
side.
I know there are some rituals and ancient rituals and rituals associated with different deities and also certain festivals in which you burn the broom.
Oh, right, right. Well, you're not supposed to take an old broom into a new house. So burning a broom.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
But I don't think that that's your magical broom. I
No, I
I
wouldn't
don't
think
think that
so.
applies. Yeah, that's having to do with, your house broom. But if you do have to take your old broom into a new house, carry it in through the window.
Oh, okay. Okay. Good to know. Good to know. So, just to clarify for everybody, you do not want to use the same broom that you clean with as your magical broom. You do want two separate brooms
Right.
because your magical broom, should never be used to actually sweep the floor or clean. It should only be used for magical purposes. So
Unless
just
you're
mentioning that.
collecting unless you're collecting magical cobwebs.
True. Now, there are spells that call for cobwebs. So if you're using your broom to collect the cobwebs, I could totally see that. That would be an okay reason to clean because it's still for a magical purpose.
Right, right. And that's for
It's
magical
also
cleaning.
right, magical cleaning, absolutely. Um, I also should mention that I found in my research that they say that you should not use a metal broom for magical purposes. It should preferably be a wooden broom.
A
So just
metal,
FYI.
what, like a
It's
metal handle?
right. You should not use
Oh,
a metal broom for magical purposes. It should
I
be
was
wood.
I was confused for a moment. I was like, I've never seen them. Oh, well, I guess okay, never
Yeah,
mind.
the
I've
metal.
seen
Yeah,
metal broom.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, you know, plastic may or may not apply there as well. I don't know.
Oh,
But
like the
you're
nylon bristles.
right, right. So
Yeah.
your best bet really would just to be a wooden broom for your magical broom. Which, I mean, you can find all kinds of brooms or you can make your own. So there's lots of options. I mean, and a lot of times, like craft stores will sell like the cinnamon brooms,
Yeah, yeah.
at the holiday season. So, I mean, worst case scenario, one of those is fine. And then you could decorate it however you
I have,
wanted to have it for your magical purposes.
yeah, I have one of those hanging in my kitchen.
I used to have one. Actually, I still have it. It's in the attic. I pull it out. I have it decorated for autumn, and it has a matching wreath, uh, grapevine wreath. So I pull those out in the fall and hang them up.
Hello, my cinnamon broom stays out year round, but then again,
Well, I have it specific to a season, though. So that's the only
uh,
thing.
see, my broom hangs in my dining room, so right around the corner from my cinnamon broom.
Oh, right, right. Well, and my magical broom is actually in my bedroom.
See, and mine. So when you are storing your broom, store it handle side down. Don't store it on its bristles. It really hurts your broom. It hurts your broom's feeling. It ruins the integrity.
It hurts
So
their feelings.
it really really does. So please please
Put the
please
bristles
store
up
your put the bristles up,
or hang
unless your
it.
broom has a hole drilled where you can put a hanger through the top of it, as mine does. So mine is hanging from a nail, or actually it's a screw, but in the wall.
Yeah, I prefer hanging personally. That's just my own
But
personal opinion. Okay, so back to flying.
flying. So, what did you find on the flying brooms?
Okay, so
And are
what
we
I have,
discussing the ointment?
I will let you discuss the ointment, but let me just mention that the first documented known occasion of a witch confessing to flying on a broom was during the Inquisition times, and it was in 1453. It was actually a man, not a
Okay.
woman. It was a man. His name is Gilliam Edelin, and he was the first to confess to being a witch and to flying on a broom. So, and that was, again, the first documented association between witches and flying on brooms. So I think that's where it all really took off as far as being documented, and having that association made, and that connection being made. Um, but let's keep in mind, this guy was actually a priest,
Yes, from Saint Germain in Laye near Paris.
and he had written a paper on why he thought witchcraft wasn't real
Hmm.
and wasn't from the devil.
Right.
So essentially, that got him in trouble with the church, and then he was, of course, tortured, and that is when he confessed to being a witch, flying on a broom, and also said that he had written those papers um, because the devil instructed him to try to make people not believe in witches so that they would stop being hunted. So if you go and look this guy up, Gilliam Edelin,
It's
a
Guillaume.
lot of I'm sorry, go ahead.
Guillaume.
Oh, Guillaume. Really?
It's French. Yeah.
Oh, it's
Guillaume.
French. That's right. Okay. That makes sense. But if you go and look him up, every reference will say that he's a witch.
No,
So,
and what I
but
found
I want
said,
to make it clear that he was not actually a witch. He might have confessed, but again, he was originally a priest. He did have his doctorate of divinity, um, but he was a priest who was tortured and then confessed to being a witch. So I just want to make that clear.
yeah, and what little I did find on him said that he eventually repented, but was still imprisoned for life.
Mm, mm.
So, I mean, at least he wasn't killed,
Right, right.
but still,
They
prisons
spared
back
him.
then,
Oh
yeah, prisons
gosh.
back
I
then,
mean,
it wasn't a gift.
right, right, true. Okay, so that is where we have the first mention. Now, Do you want to talk about the flying?
Okay. So from research, it really goes, it, there are, it goes both ways. There are people that believe that these witches used their brooms to apply their flying ointment. Whereas there are people that say, no, total hogwash. It was just applied on the skin. But I will say that in 1324, there was a wealthy Irish widow named Lady Alice Kittler who was tried for sorcery and heresy. And they said that they found a pipe of ointment wherewith she greased a staff upon which she
Ooh.
ambled and galloped through the thick and thin. So I think that might be where they are saying that, the flying ointment and where they're, you know, the whole correlation. But, with the flying ointment, it's a lot of like nightshade and a lot of the hallucinogenics.
Yeah,
And
I
like
found that it had
deadly.
belladonna, mugwort,
Uh-huh.
poppy were some of the ingredients. So definitely,
Confusing.
yeah. So,
Yeah, yeah.
hallucinogenic properties to a lot of those. Um,
So on the camp that says that, well, okay, let me go back. So there are those that believe that witches would place the ointment on their broomsticks and then ride the broomsticks. We're getting technical. We're getting vulgar out here. I mean, let's just say it. And naked, they would ride the stick and it would, so everyone knows that, your private areas, it's a mucous membrane, which is thinner,
mhm.
being a better area to absorb
Absorb.
this
Hmm.
mixture.
Very
Right.
quickly into the
Very
bloodstream.
quickly. So, I mean, and it was a potent psychedelic that, you know, you would think you were flying. So, I mean, you probably, if you were being an outsider coming in looking on the scene, you'd probably see a bunch of women, just writhing on the ground saying, "We're flying, we're flying." They're just lying there. They're
Right.
they they're tripping hard.
Exactly.
Right.
They're flying
Um,
high.
Now, others say that, that probably wasn't the case, if it was even used, if it was even a thing, it was probably just applied topically and, you just carry your brooms.
Right. So I did find that there are some, and I think this was, gosh, probably a good 50, 60 years ago, that there were
Mhm.
some covens that would make this ointment. And the person with the, like, who was trained, had the most experience, knew how much to use and where to put it, would go around and, the coven would lay in a circle and they would have their brooms next to them. And this head coven member who, quote, knew what they were doing. I mean, I don't know how, unless you're a scientist or a doctor, I don't know how you necessarily can say you know what you're doing when it comes to psychedelics, but
Well, I mean, look at midwives. Midwives knew what they were doing with herbs,
well, that's true.
but
That's true.
but, still, you're
Still,
trusting somebody.
yeah, you're trusting somebody else to not overdose you, essentially. But they would go around and they would place this ointment on, the different points of the body. And then they would all go flying. Um, so I did find
They trip
reference to it
balls.
being right. They were tripping. But I did find reference to that being done many 50, 60 years ago in covens and probably, back in, when the hippies were running around and all the
Prelim.
psychedelic drugs were, really super popular. I'm sure there were covens that were using them. Now, as far as making the ointment and applying it to the brooms and then, quote, riding their brooms, we don't know for sure if there's any proof or validation to that. It's
No, I
what's
mean,
out there. It's what's talked about. But there's no proof.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, and even looking at historians, on both sides of the camp, it goes both ways.
Right.
It truly is an unknown. And that goes back to, things weren't really well documented, and what
Hmm.
was documented by the persecutors.
True. True. And any other things that would have been documented, really, it probably would have been done very cryptically,
Hmm.
um, or, with some kind of symbology or metaphors that we could only guess at.
Right. Definitely word of mouth.
Right. And that's
So
the main tradition. That's the main way that these traditions were passed down, a lot of this stuff. So we have to keep that in mind. So we wanted to mention it because it's out there.
it is.
It's a part of the Brooms and the Besoms. So we wanted to talk about it, but we also want to let you know that we cannot say for certain, and we are not saying that it is factual. We're just saying it's information that we found out there. We do not
And
recommend
I'm
trying it.
And I'm not taking a side either way. I can't say for certain, what was or wasn't done. So
Right. True. Yeah.
let
Now,
the witches have their fun if they wanted.
me personally, I wouldn't do it, but that's just me.
Okay, but I mean, think about it. If you're back there in 13, 14, 15, 1600s, what really was there for a woman to do other than to make her man food, turn the butter? There wasn't a lot for women. I mean, tripping balls was probably like their
The Great
shows,
Escape.
right? They didn't have antidepressants and mom juice.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
I
Mommy
guess
needs to
everyone
go.
drank mom juice back then.
True. They did. It was a regular thing. Um, I don't know. I can't speak to 13, 14, 1500. Me. I don't know what I would do then, but I know in the here and now I wouldn't do that. Also
Right.
for like sanitary reasons. I'm sorry. It is known I am a germaphobe, and that
Huge
is just
germaphobe.
highly unsanitary. So I'm
You
telling you,
wouldn't have survived back then.
I really wouldn't have because, even just talking about that, that's why I personally cannot believe that any of that is true because the germaphobe that I am could not believe that people would, you know, subject themselves to such, you know, germs and nastiness and exposing, especially your private parts to. I mean, think about how many hands touch these brooms. Did they have magical brooms apart from household brooms? I mean, this is a cleaning item, right? Like, think about how dirty that is. It
Jen,
just freaks me out. It
I'm the one.
literally makes me cringe inside just thinking about it. You have no idea. It's so gross.
See, and
Ugh,
I'm the
can't.
mom over here that, someone looks at me and goes, "Your kid's eating dirt." I'm like, "Yeah, he likes it. Leave him alone." He so did. My youngest, he absolutely loved dirt. Figured out he had picos, so he needed iron. He was getting his iron, man. Leave him alone.
Well, that is a real thing, that can be diagnosed. Meanwhile, I'm over here like constantly saying, no, baby, don't put that in your mouth. Don't put that in your mouth. Don't put that in your mouth. Let's go wash your hands. Where's the wet wipe when I need one? Yeah, I'm that mom.
So, what did you find on what you really think was the association between flying and brooms?
Oh, right. Okay, so I found that the actual connection, in the Inquisition period, was probably due to a pagan custom of riding a broom through the fields to promote fertility. And this was done, so they would ride their brooms like a hobby horse
Hmm.
through the fields, and they were basically sweeping away the dead, aka last year's crop, to make way for the new crop. and to promote fertility. So this was just a pagan custom that was done, but you know, the you know church coming in and seeing these pagans riding brooms through the field. I mean, yeah, I can totally see where they'd be like, this is witchcraft. What are they doing? Which is ride
Right.
brooms. Um, and have that association made.
Yes. So anthropologist Robin Skelton, she thinks that because of these festivals, and she called it the broomstick dance, and
Oh,
the
okay.
fact that it was done in the light of the full moon to encourage the growth of crops,
Oh,
for
okay.
this particular dance. And it wasn't necessarily brooms, it was brooms, pitchforks, or poles, whatever they had, um, from, the area that she was studying. Um, and she thinks, as well as you, that it became confused that, oh, well, these people must be going on their way to their orgies, you
Right.
know up to no good, watching these
Well, I
crazy
mean,
people in the fields.
right. But I mean, these customs were probably, and these festivals, they're probably hundreds of years old, something that these people have been doing forever. But again, these quote civilized, uh, people coming in and seeing this being done, especially if it was done under a full moon. So I didn't see that part. So of course
Right.
that makes it even more suspicious.
Well, it was the Catholic priests, the monks that were traveling around to convert all these pagans. They saw
Right.
that and go, "Oh my God, these heathens! We have got to do something about this." But it's
What
like
is
the
this
conversation,
witchery?
right? What is this retreat? It's like the conversation I was having with my son the other day. He's been asking a lot of questions lately, and like he was wanting to know why people believed things back then. He's been going on about wendigos, and like I keep telling him, like, son, it's never a wendigo, and if you've seen the show you get the reference, but it's never a wendigo. And he's like, well, why do people believe that? And I'm like, because they didn't have science, they didn't understand. It was a way to explain the unknown.
Right.
I said, if you're looking at the Northern Lights, you're probably, oh my gosh, this is some God that is giving, something's going on over here. It was a way to
Right.
explain. And, definitely as, society advanced, as science advanced, there became less of the need to explain the unknown. But I do love that, a lot of this, the lore, the myths, you know, the reasons why have survived to today,
Right.
because that's our origin. That's where we
Right.
come from.
And a lot of that's slowly, dying away, as stuff is being explained, or, now that people know better or have science and, have reasons and answers. I think we are losing a lot of that history in the lores and the myths and the old wives' tales and all that stuff. So I think, it's definitely important to still talk about it and
Oh,
to
yeah.
teach your kids about it, because if you don't, it's going to die out.
And that's probably the biggest thing that hurts my heart is old old skills dying out. I mean, look at the pyramids. Scientists have been baffled over how the pyramids were built, how Stonehenge was
Yeah.
erected. I mean, that was technology that they had, back then, but then was lost until,
Right.
they still don't know how they did it. I, it hurts my heart.
No, you're right. It was some kind of skill or knowledge or technology that was lost.
Hmm.
Um, and it's just going to continue to happen if we don't continue to talk about these things and teach it and pass it down. So it's definitely important to talk about. Um, so the next thing I think we should talking about history and uh, legends and customs and different things, is why now. Okay, so we've got Beltane coming up on May 1st.
Yes. Hmm.
So we did this show last week on the fire element, and we are doing this week Brooms, and the tie-in to Beltane is jumping the broom.
Right, because Beltane was the beginning of spring, and so it was associated with marriage and fertility and life. So, you have the Maypole Festival, which is, associated with Beltane as well,
Hmm.
but also jumping the broom. That's when a lot of people were getting married, and I think some of you might be surprised about the whole jumping the broom, where it originated.
Where the roots are with jumping the broom. Um, so
I know
yeah,
we were surprised.
we were surprised. So, Beltane, yes, it is that May 1st spring festival, well, and early summer festival, and bringing in fertility. And a lot of people they were getting married, they were doing their hand fastings, and they were jumping the broom. So, sister, do you want to jump into this one, or do you want me to?
No, that's fine. I will jump into this one.
Okay, go ahead.
So, jumping the broom, actually, the earliest account to jumping the broom dates back to the 1700s, and it was actually the Roma community, or gypsy. People don't, supposed to say
AKA
gypsies anymore,
gypsies.
aka gypsies.
I mean, I love.
Um,
Okay. Anyway, I won't go into it. Go ahead.
right, right, right. Um, but yeah, it was the Roma community. And it was because their beliefs were considered, they were pretty almost banned from the church. They
Mm,
couldn't be wed in the church.
they couldn't
So
get
the
married.
Roma community, right? Yeah. So the Romas, they created this jumping over the broom, and that was their ceremony so that they could be married in the eyes of everyone else, even if it wasn't recognized in the church.
Right.
Um, but it's interesting because with that, it says that the marriage, it was said to be doomed or invalid if either of the newlyweds touched the broom when jumping over it, and marriages could also be annulled by jumping backwards over the broom.
I did see that, and I thought that was interesting.
Right. So, and some of the other European customs was for the bride to jump over the broom on entering the marital home for the first time to signify a rejection of witchcraft. What?
Oh,
What?
interesting. I
Right.
also saw that might also be where we got the custom of the groom carrying the bride through the threshold.
Oh, see, neat, neat. Now I could see that.
Yeah, that's where
Um,
that came from.
but in my studies, so it was Professor Diane Stewart, um, and she teaches religion and African American studies. And she was actually studying abroad in Nigeria. And being African American herself, she wanted to find the ties between Africa and jumping the broom. And she said, wherever she looked, she couldn't find a link. There was absolutely no links between broomstick weddings and Africa. So she kind of has two working theories on that.
So, I actually found a few different sites. So, aside from this woman doing research, there are a few other people who have researched the same thing and also came up short and were not able to find any reference to brooms or jumping the broom anywhere in African traditions or cultures. It's just not there.
And that shocked us. That
Yeah.
really did shock us.
Well,
Uh,
because an article I read, um, you know, said that the idea of jumping the broom really became popular with the show or movie Roots.
Right, right.
And that's kind of where it made its big
Come
comeback,
back. Hmm.
was because of that movie. And so I think there was just really this misunderstanding, um, and people really thinking that this was something that, you know, African American slaves did, and that it was brought over with them from Africa, and that that was, I think, the big misconception.
Right. So her running theory is that jumping the broom came to America from Britain and became established in the South, and that the slave owners imposed the foreign custom on couples who desired a symbolic ritual because they couldn't get married because slavery's bad, y'all. It's not good, but they were seen as property, and because they were property, they couldn't
They
just get
couldn't get
married.
married. Right.
And that's sad. I'm all about love. I mean, it breaks my heart. I'm just saying.
Well,
But
it really is sad, and it's really disheartening. And of course, the whole, it's all terrible. Um, and I think it's terrible that there were, some areas in which this was forced on their slaves as a way for them to be married. But I don't think it was always forced. I think it ended up being adopted.
right. So she also said her second running theory is that given the historical association of broomstick weddings with the marginalized groups, being the Roma, and the lower classes in Europe and in the United States, it's not surprising to learn that in order to suit their needs, some enslaved people willingly adopted the practice from the poor whites who surrounded them.
Right. And that makes sense too, because it was a way for them to have their own type of ritual and ceremony. So, I mean, it totally makes sense. Um, because again, so from what I was finding, yes, it started with the the gypsies from Wales, but then also, there were Welsh and Irish,
Hmm.
um, and uh, other British communities are what am I looking for? What's the word I'm looking for? Welsh, the Irish. Anyway, and the surrounding.
Scottish?
No, I didn't see Scottish mentioned actually, which
I
I
didn't
found
either.
interesting.
Right.
But it's like all those like northern British
In the
areas,
UK. Yeah.
yes, that really did, you know, jumping the broom, and it's I it goes back to the 1700s, so it's hundreds of years old, and it's something that was done, and like you're saying, I mean, it was for people that came to America that immigrated here. If they were poor and they couldn't afford a wedding or a
Hmm.
ceremony, or because there was so much hatred, um, you know, still, I mean, even then, between like the Irish and um, the Italians and, all these different groups really disliked each other. So if you were in an area that, you were maybe the minority and you couldn't go get married in the local church, or what have you, like they still had these customs and these ways of doing these ceremonies. And yeah, it was mainly the poor people. They couldn't afford to go do all these, you know, big lavish weddings and whatnot.
Right.
So, I mean, it totally makes sense. And I think that's why it's still done today, especially in the pagan communities. Um, Jumping the broom is still very much a part of what's done. And and I think there's still a lot of African Americans that decided to keep it and incorporate it and use it because they wanted to honor their ancestors. Um,
Right.
that. that were here and honoring that that's where they came from, because these two people decided to jump the broom and get married. They're here today. And so they
Right.
wanted to honor that by having it a part of their wedding ceremony. And I think that's awesome if that's something that they choose to do and honor it. And I definitely like to think that, it's something that these um, people chose to do. I mean, I like that version a lot better, of course.
Right.
Do we know for sure? No, we don't
And
know.
we'll
I mean,
never
I don't,
know.
we'll never know. Um, but I think it's a fun thing to do. I think it's an awesome thing to do. And I think if you're getting married and you want to add jumping the broom in, I think you should, especially now that you know the history. Um, so, you know,
Really, it's for everybody.
it's for everybody. I mean, anybody can do it. At this point, I mean, let's be honest. America is such a
It's a melting
mixed,
pot.
right. So at this point in time, unless you do the DNA test, you don't know where you're from.
Right. We did the DNA test.
We did the DNA test. Uh, so, unless you do that, uh, chances are you could be a little bit of everything from anywhere. And if this is something you want to do, or even if you're not and you just want to do it because you're a witch, do it.
Own it.
Own
Make
it
it
and do
yours.
it. Make it yours. So I was actually seeing that a lot of times these brooms, they're very highly decorated. Uh,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
it's not just you lay a broom down and jump it. No, like these are really special brooms. They're decorated. They can be gifted. Um, One woman I saw where she had studied and done the research on jumping the broom, and she found a Jewish woman who had a broom from her wedding where they had jumped the broom. And
Hmm.
this same broom had been passed down for like 7 generations.
I so this same professor in teaching her class, she had a Polish student who who had the broom that had been jumped by her family that had gone back 6 generations.
Oh,
And she was just
wow.
fascinated that she got to, this person actually brought the broom in so she could, look at it and see it. And, she just found it so special. And, that even they were doing it in Poland.
Right. Right.
So,
Well, and this other woman was Jewish. So
right,
really it's for anybody. Um, but I love that idea of passing it down.
right,
That is so cool. I mean, it's once you jump the broom, it's like that's an heirloom.
right.
So make sure it's really super cool and beautiful and because it's going to be passed down. And it could be
Well,
added to with each new jumping.
and that's what they did with the Polish broom, in this Polish family, is that each couple getting married tied ribbons with their names written on it to the handle of the broom.
Oh,
And
nice.
so,
It was like a way to document it.
it documented it and then, carried it forward. So that was neat. I thought that was really neat and special
That
because
is really
you
neat and
can see
special.
your great great grandparents, on back, you know,
Right.
this
I
was
could
their ribbon.
even I could even see like I just saw this little vision of getting like one of those many mini journals, the little miniature ones, and you could almost get one that looks like a miniature book of shadows and tying it to the broom and
Hmm.
then having the couple sign it
Oh, that'd
and
be
put the
neat.
date. So then you actually have their name, their signature, and the date. And then everybody can add, go to the next page and do it as it's passed down. I think that would be super cool. So if anybody wants to
And I
steal that
think,
idea, you're welcome to.
okay, no trademark pending on that one.
Yeah, I think that's an awesome idea. So
So,
definitely want to incorporate something in the broom. when me and Rooster get married.
I like
Just
that idea.
saying. And then I'm going to pass the broom down to our daughter, Emmy, because I'm all about making these little magical heirlooms for her and magical things that can be passed down. And so it's definitely going to be magical.
I love it. I love it. You've seen, yeah, I couldn't do
Well, and
that.
I'm working on a book of shadows and like all kinds of cool stuff. And I have a little fun little magical book that I'm making her, just like fun little magical quotes and
Hmm.
little drawings, some pictures, because, her daddy's an artist. So I'm like, hey, I need you to draw me a picture of a dragon in here. But anyway, so back on track. A few more things we wanted to mention. So the staff of the broom is considered masculine, and the bristles, the brush part, is considered feminine. And so the broom is a symbol of unity of the two, and it balances the polarities of masculine and feminine. And to that point, it is sacred to both the god and the goddess. Although you will see mention that some will say that it's sacred only to the goddess, but I guess it depends on whatever your personal belief is. But I
Right.
have found that it's sacred to both, which makes sense to me being the representation. I also have that traditionally the staff was made of ash. The brush bristles, twigs were of birch, and that the binding string was willow.
Hmm.
So, and that you don't have to stick to that today. That's just traditionally what was used. Um,
Yeah,
and you
it's
have a lot of info on making, so I will let you go ahead and take that.
right. So I did take a broom making class. There is a school up here in North Carolina, and for the life of me, I can't think of the name of it right now. But it's over in the mountains, and they are all about keeping old traditions, old crafts alive. You can learn anything at this school. And they've also got like kind of an intern program. So if you come in and clean,
Oh,
they'll give you room and board and let you take classes if you're willing to work there,
oh, that's
kind of
cool.
earn your keep. Yeah, because they really want to keep it accessible. They want to keep these skills going. And they teach the old way of doing things: basket making, broom making, um, metal works, working. I was going to say working with the forge, but I know there's a technical name, and that's escaping me right now too. Because, um, but stained glass windows, anything, woodworking, you name it, they've got it. Um, but so the person that I learned to make brooms from actually attended this class and learned it well enough to, go on and teach herself. Um, but kind of following, the method that I learned from her, I saw the Dancing Goats Folk Studio is on YouTube. There's a video on making traditional besoms. And it is a traditional besom because he incorporates the number three when making the brooms, which is important. And when it came to the bristles, so brooms nowadays, back then it was kind of made into whatever you could make it out of, what, sticks, brush, what have you, that was lying around.
Right.
um, Whereas nowadays Benjamin Franklin actually brought sorghum or broom corn to the United States in the 1700s, and by 1834, broom corn became the standard for making brooms. um, so I think Caddy's or Katie's is pretty much like the number one broom corn supplier in the United States, and they're pretty cool because they sell colored corn. Uh,
Oh, so you can get any kind of colored bristles that you want.
yeah, you can, or you can dye it yourself. There are tutorials on YouTube for dyeing your corn if you wanted to. Um, But and it's nice because where I get like a 10-pound box of corn, you know you can get it in smaller quantities as well. But pretty much broom making today, it's finding a wooden handle, whether it be a stick or just buying a broom handle. It if you're living in the city, you don't have access to all of the tools and everything uh, to really get in there and clean a handle and get it going good. You can buy one, make it your own, and then you can maybe color on it and decorate it. But nowadays we use a number 18 nylon cord because you really have to pull on it. You really want it to be tight so that your broom doesn't fall apart. And the nylon cord can handle the stress that you're doing. And if you don't want the nylon to show, you can always come back and, tie other things around it later. Um, but yeah, you said we were going to be making a class, or we were going to be making brooms next week
Yeah, so
on
we'll be
Facebook.
posting in the group. We're going to do another group craft next Wednesday, and we'll be making besoms for Beltane. So we'll put the supplies list in the group, and we'll put we can put the link to the YouTube uh, videos that you're talking about so people can go ahead and watch some of it if they want to, and
Right.
then you guys can join us next Wednesday, so you have time, you have a week to get your supplies together, and then we'll be making them together, and then the best part is decorating them when you get done. So you can do ribbons, charms, crystals, um, anything you want, and just decorate away. You can, if you have a wood burner, you can like burn runes or symbols and sigils into your broom handle. Um, all kinds of cool things that you can do. So as far as making the brooms, we'll put a whole bunch of information on that to get ready for the group craft um, in the Facebook group. So if you're not in the Facebook group, it is the Witch Source Society, and that is the place to be. It's a great place to go ask questions, get magical support, and just have some fun and talk about magical things, whatever you guys want to talk about. We are in there and we do like to answer questions. It's also a place that you can leave episode requests. So if there's something that you want to
Yeah.
know about, um, we can take your request and we'll do a podcast episode on it. So, but yeah, so your broom handle, you can again get something from, find a good stick out in the yard, or you can buy one. You can get your broom corn. We'll post where you can get some of that if you want to order that, or you can do old school and get twigs and herbs
Right.
and brush and whatever you can find from out in the yard or a park, wherever you have access to. So it doesn't have to be, you don't have to put a lot of money into it. Um,
Right.
I
So
saw
like,
a lot of people just use dried herbs because remember, you're not using your magical broom to sweep.
right.
So you don't have to worry about it getting messed up or dirty or breaking or falling apart. You're using it for magical purposes. So just keep that in mind.
Yes, and definitely make it your own. But if you do happen to get your hands on some broom corn and you are going to be joining us later that night, make sure you start soaking it earlier in the day. The broom corn does have to be wet when you work with it. Whereas I'm not sure. I'm not sure on the sticks or other things if those need to be soaked. Wood, when you get it wet, makes it more pliable, which means that you can tie it tighter. The tighter you tie your broom, means that it's not going to come apart later on, and that's kind of the key thing.
Yeah. And we'll
You
put
want it to
all that,
last.
we'll put all that information in the post in the group. So you have everything you need to know, what you need to do to prepare, and all the supplies. And then come have fun with us, come craft. Okay,
Yes.
so did you have anything else you want to add on the broom making?
No. No.
Okay, so a couple other things I wanted to touch on. So early American magical practitioners especially women, would use the broom as a form of communication with other witches. So, a broom, so what they would do is they would put the broom outside of their house. And so it would let they would let other witches um, know what's going on. So a broom leaning close to the front door with the bristles up meant I've gone visiting. The bristles down next to the door meant I'm home. A broom laying down meant I'm busy. Please come back another time, which that's probably how mine would stay. Because if you want to come see me, you better call ahead. I don't like surprises. Um, so, uh, if the broom bristles sat up over the window, it meant that you were home, that you were not home, but you would be back shortly and you were welcome to come inside and wait.
Oh, I
I
like
know, I
that.
thought that was cool. And so then another thing they would do is tie messages with ribbons um, to the broom so you could go read the message. And then they would also use different colored ribbons to mean different things as well. So depending on what color was tied to the broom, it would mean, it would have a certain meaning. So it was a way for the witches to communicate before the little thing called the telephone was invented.
That kind of reminds me of like, people used to communicate with fans, and the way you would hold or do your fans in different ways, had different meanings.
Oh, I didn't know this. You will have to
Yeah.
educate me.
Oh my
I just
gosh.
got us fans. You're talking about like the type of fans that I just got us?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay, well, then we have something to talk about when we go to the vendor event. FYI, you guys, if anybody lives in North Carolina, we will be at the Pagan Pride Festival um, during Beltane. So it's the weekend
Yes.
of Beltane. And it's in Reedsville. So look it up, check us out. We will be at the Pagan Pride event that weekend. You'll find us. We will have our banner out front with the Witch Source on it. So stop by, say hi, do some shopping, check out your magical supplies, or get a reading with me. I'll also
Yeah.
be doing
And
readings that day.
and if you can't make that event, we will be at the Summer Solstice Festival in Greensboro, North Carolina on June 18th.
Yeah, so you can make plans
So,
to come see us there. We would absolutely love it if you would stop by and say hello.
yes.
Okay, so one last thing. I have a couple of broom spells that I wanted to leave you guys with. All right, so to enchant a household broom for magical purposes, sprinkle the bristles with a few drops of water and a pinch of salt, and then fan it through some incense smoke. Or you could do sage or, whatever. And this is how it's kind of your consecrating ritual because it is your a magical tool. So you want to cleanse it and bless it, consecrate it, and then ask it to work with you for the purpose in which you're using it, right? Which we already talked about how you're going to be using it. But when you get it, it's recommended, suggested that you do that before you start using it for rituals or magical purposes. So continuing on. So then place both hands on the broom and say,
I don't know if
the
she cut
proper
out.
witch's.
Okay.
Am
You
I
were
here?
cutting out. Yeah. Okay. You're there
Oh,
now.
oh, am I here
I don't know
now?
if you
What
need
was
to
the last
start
thing
it.
you
Yeah.
heard?
You're going over your second. I was going to start on mine and be like, okay, I don't know what happened to her. All right. Start
Oh,
again over your second one.
my
Your
second
second.
one?
Yeah. Or no, we were saying you say something. What do you say?
What? Okay, I was talking about how you want to make sure that you um, cleanse your broom, bless it, and
Yeah.
consecrate it before you use it for magical purposes.
Yeah.
You heard
And
that?
then you say what? Yeah. And then you say what?
Oh, okay. So you place both hands on the broom and say, the proper witch's broom is not used for magical flights. Instead, it brushes out harm and sweeps in love and light.
Oh,
Yeah. And And then you want to display it in a prominent place of honor. I thought that was cute.
That's sweet. Yeah. So
So
one
that's a
of
little
mine
charm
is,
to bless it. Go ahead.
all right. So one of mine is jumping over a broomstick 9 times will bring a suitable spouse within 1 year.
Oh, okay, cool. Oh yeah, we had like a whole little thing, didn't we? Go ahead and go over those, and then I'll get back to
Okay.
the 2 other spells.
Okay. All right. All right. So I think most people have heard that if a broomstick falls over, company's coming.
Yes, and
I
that
think,
was made
yeah.
popular by Practical Magic.
Yes. Yes. Never sweep under someone's feet because it causes bad luck.
I've also heard that it'll cause you not to get married.
Oh, really?
Yeah, sweeping under
See, I
somebody's
think it's
feet will cause
depend.
them to not get married.
I think it's depends on where you're from. The different
I would
traditions. Yeah.
I would agree. I would agree.
Some traditions say to sweep from west to east, then throw the dust out the back door.
Hmm.
But then again, I've also heard that you're not supposed to sweep your dust out the house because that sweeps away all your good luck.
Right. A lot of these are very contradictory.
So contradictory. The witch's broom is used to summon winds for weather magic. Throwing a broom into the air off of a cliff summons the wind, while burning one stops the wind. The brooms aren't easy to make. I don't know why, you'd be burning
Or tossing it off a cliff. Oh, but
right?
talking about weather magic, there was the association with that goddess about weather. And I did read actually quite a few things of using your broom for weather magic.
Hmm.
And I also read that if you're doing weather magic, you should do it alone and not talk to people about it until
Well,
after it's
see,
done.
I've always thought that magic was supposed to be done and then not spoken about.
Right.
So,
To keep
yeah.
silent. Yeah. But they recommended doing weather magic alone.
Don't let your tongue get you burned tomorrow. Um, so lay a broom under the bed for protection.
And see, I
Uh,
found you can hang it above the door for protection.
laying a broom across the threshold ensures only good visitors come by. So there's that. Um, the straws of a broom are thought to have magical powers and are used in healing spells.
Nice.
So, yes, yes. That's what I've got.
Okay. And then another one I found was that you can hang it above the bed for fertility.
Yeah, I did see that somewhere. I don't have it on here though.
Yeah. And especially, I think that's especially good if it's the same broom you used for jumping the broom.
Hmm.
So after you jump the broom, you can put the broom over your bed for fertility or hang it above the door for protection or, you know, use it to sweep in good luck and good fortune.
Did you say good fucking good fortune?
Good luck. Get your
Y'all, I'm
head
hard
out
of.
of the gutter.
No, y'all, I'm hard of hearing.
You really are hard of hearing. It's a whole thing.
I am. It's a whole thing. Here, I get hearing aids next week, people. We'll be better.
It's going to get better.
I got better.
Okay, a broomstick spell to remove gloom. Oh, and if you guys are interested, these little charms, the broom charms that I'm sharing with you come from Cottage Witchery by Ellen Dugan,
I
which
love
is a
that one.
great book. I love Ellen Dugan. I think she's a fantastic writer, but I absolutely love Cottage Witchery. It is a fabulous book. If you guys could see this book, you would see that I have very literally flagged and tagged and highlighted almost the entire book. So I'm
Yeah,
just saying
she's the
it's
one.
great.
She's the one that said that if you can't get rid of your broom when you're moving, to put it through the window.
Oh, well, she is one smart witch, let me just tell you.
She
Okay.
is. She's amazing.
She is. All right. So first, now this is the one for removing gloom. First, sweep the room to clear it of all negativity. You, of course, want to do counterclockwise, like we talked about. But then when you're done, you say, all negativity must leave this room as I sweep away all the dust and gloom. So that's to remove gloom. And then
Right.
here's one to sweep away bad luck from the threshold. So you'll sweep and clean your room, and you'll leave a little pile of dust close to the front door. You can just dispose of the rest, but you just need a little bit near the front door. And then you take that last remaining pile of dirt and open the door and take a deep breath and visualize your front door surrounded by a blue glowing light. And then you'll sweep the remainder of the dirt out the door and over the threshold and off your porch or steps. And then as you're doing that, you repeat quickly this charm 3 times. As I sweep away bad luck with this enchanted broom, negativity must flee to the sound of this tune. This threshold is protected and surrounded with light. My home is warded and secure both day and night. So that's a cute little charm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then one last thing that I saw, which I found this one to be very interesting. This is to banish ghosts.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Right? I told you it was interesting. All right. So they recommend doing it during a waning moon to use the banishing energies, or at the very least to do it on a Saturday, because Saturday is a good day to remove problems.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you take 2 bristles from your ritual or household broom
Oh.
and you burn them inside of a cauldron or old pot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The next, you sprinkle all the inside corners of your house with salt, blessed water, and incense smoke. And then you go to the center of the house and say, in the name of the lady and by the power of a witch's art, all spells and energies not in harmony with me must now depart. And then finally it says, take the blessed water and draw small stars on every door, window, and mirror as this seals up the house so nothing can get in, including negative energy. And then it says, once the water dries, the stars will be invisible, but the magic will remain.
I like that idea.
Yeah. I think it's worth giving it a try.
Right.
If you can't sage, or, do other things, I definitely think it's worth giving it a try.
Right.
If it doesn't work, I don't want people to think that it's, because your magic didn't work or that you're not powerful enough or anything like that. Sometimes there's just some really nasty stuff in houses that takes a lot more energy, work, and effort to get rid of.
Right.
So if you try it and it works, wonderful. If you try it and it doesn't work, ask for help.
Right. Call the
Then
priest. No, I'm kidding.
yeah. So then if that doesn't work, move on to the sage. And if that doesn't work, then you might need to contact some local witches to come get your house cleaned out.
Right.
Because we've done several house cleanings and sometimes they're pretty intense and it takes a lot, depending on what's there and what's going on. But yeah. So if anybody's local and needs help with a house cleaning, we do house cleanings and we do travel. And we also do house blessings. Just FYI. So if you're interested or need that, just contact us. Again, you can find us in the Witch Source Society group on Facebook. You can find us on Facebook. Just look for the Witch Source. And please be sure to like, follow, and share while you are there because we appreciate it. We're also on Instagram. We're also on YouTube. And wherever you're listening to this podcast, we would really, really love it if you leave us a positive review and share it with a friend. Also on the YouTube channel, you can find spell videos. The most popular one, let me just tell you, And there are comments on there of people having wonderful, successful results, is the freezer spell.
Right. We use that one a lot.
We use that one a lot, and there are a lot of comments out there, but there are several of people saying how wonderfully it has worked and helped them. So just throwing that out there. Definitely check out the YouTube channel. There's a few other little spells on there as well, and please subscribe while you're there. And and finally, go to the website, thewitchsource.com, and check out all of our magical witchy supplies. We've got herbs, we've got oils, we've got candles, we've got fun stuff too, like keychains, boxes, witches' hats. We've got our best-selling Clear and Protect spray, which you can use in place of sage. And we also have 2 new sprays, Clear Protect Sleep, which is good for divination, astral travel, and sleeping, and Clear and Protect Love, which is great for self-love or bringing in or calling in love energy into your life and your space. So check that out, you guys. There's lots of other stuff on there. You can also book private readings if you're interested. But yeah, if you guys are enjoying this podcast, you have questions, comments, we absolutely love hearing from you. We love getting your questions, or if you have show requests, you can send it to thewitchsource@gmail.com. We absolutely would love to hear from you and any feedback you have. Because, yeah, we like getting mail. It's fun.
It is fun.
And we are building a question and answer episode. So send us your questions and let us know that it's okay to use it on the show. And we will read your question and answer it on a podcast episode.
Yes.
So I think that's it for us. Did I forget anything?
I don't think so. I think you got it all covered.
All right, you guys. Check us out in the group. Next week, we're talking about Beltane, so get ready for that. And again, on Beltane, we'll be out at the Pagan Pride Festival in Reensville. We hope you'll stop by.
Yes, so much fun.
So much fun. And that is it for us, you guys. We hope that you have a very magical day, morning, noon, or night, wherever you might be or when you might be listening. And don't forget to stay magical.
Bye.
Bye.